The grand chamber of the Galactic Council on Nexus Prime gleamed under the light of 1,000 distant stars that shimmered through the transparent dome ceiling. White stone pillars rose majestically around the circular hall, each carved with symbols representing the 57 species that comprise the Galactic Alliance. The year was 2405, and humanity had been part of this interstellar coalition for just over 5 decades, a mere blink in the cosmic timescale of the ancient civilizations gathered here. Ambassador Maya Truong of Earth stood at the balcony overlooking the vast assembly. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe style that accentuated her sharp features, while her formal blue diplomatic uniform bore the modest insignia of Earth, a simple globe with a single satellite orbiting it. Unlike the ornate emblems of other species, humanity's symbol was understated, perhaps befitting their status as newcomers. The chamber buzzed with the low murmur of various translation devices as representatives from across the galaxy conducted their pre-session discussions. Maya's eyes scanned the room, noting the positioning of certain delegations. The Ketho representatives, led by Ambassador Vexar, had been particularly vocal in recent sessions about what they termed human disruptiveness. Their 6-limbed forms seemed especially agitated today. Their characteristic blue skin flushed almost purple with what Maya recognized as anticipation. Her neural implant pinged softly in her inner ear, a private communication channel. Ambassador Truong, secure line established, the AI assistant announced. Except, Maya subvocalized, her lips barely moving. The holographic projection of Commander Orion appeared in her field of vision, visible only to her. His weathered face was grim, the scar across his left cheek more pronounced than usual under the harsh lighting of what appeared to be a military command center. Maya, Directive 9 has been activated. You have 48 hours to exit the Alliance. This is not a drill. Maya's heart raced, but decades of diplomatic training kept her expression neutral. Directive 9. The contingency plan for humanity's complete withdrawal from the Galactic Alliance. It was a scenario they had prepared for, but never truly expected to implement. Confirmation code? She asked quietly. Phoenix Rising, authorization Omega-73. It was real. After 50 years of attempted integration, Earth's leadership had made the decision to withdraw completely from the interstellar community. Understood, Maya replied. What triggered this? The council vote has been scheduled. Our intelligence confirms they've already secured the numbers for expulsion. We're just preempting the inevitable. Maya's gaze returned to the Ketho delegation. So that explained their smugness today. How did we miss this? They conducted the preliminary vote through closed channels. The formal announcement will come today. Maya, we need to be gone before they can implement containment protocols. The implications were clear. If the Alliance decided humans were too disruptive to be members, they might also decide humans were too dangerous to be left to their own devices. Earth's military strategists had long feared that expulsion could be followed by isolation or worse, a pacification campaign. Begin the evacuation protocols, Maya instructed. I'll handle things here. The hologram disappeared as the communication ended. Maya took a deep breath, straightening her uniform. The grand ornate timepiece at the center of the hall, a gift from the Arcturian delegation centuries ago, showed that the session would begin in 5 minutes. Her assistant, Kai, approached with a data tablet. Ambassador, the Proxima delegation has requested a meeting after today's session to discuss the agricultural exchange program. Maya gave a tight smile. I'm afraid we'll have to postpone. Please clear my schedule for the next 2 days. Kai's eyebrows rose slightly, but he was too well trained to question her directly. Of course, Ambassador. The sound of a resonant tone echoed through the chamber, the traditional call to order. Representatives began moving toward their designated seating areas, each designed to accommodate the specific physiological needs of their species. Maya made her way to the human section, a modest area compared to the elaborate platforms of the founding members. As she settled into her seat, she activated her neural interface to review Earth's contributions to the Alliance over the past 50 years. The data streamed through her mind. Medical advancements shared, trade routes established, scientific discoveries contributed. Humans had been busy during their half-century of membership, eager to prove their worth among the stars. The High Arbiter, a Denebrian with translucent skin that revealed the complex network of luminescent vessels beneath, rose to the central podium, their seven-fingered hands extended in the traditional gesture of commencement. The 12th 457th session of the Grand Galactic Council is now in session, the Arbiter announced, their voice translated simultaneously into the native language of each representative through their personal devices. The usual formalities proceeded: roll call, acknowledgement of new diplomatic appointments, updates on ongoing interspecies projects. Maya listened with half an attention, her mind racing with contingency plans. Across the vast chamber, Earth's allies were few, perhaps a dozen species out of 57 that had consistently supported human initiatives. Then came the moment she had been dreading. We now move to Special Resolution 7734, proposed by the Kytho Confederation and seconded by the Vega Consortium, the Arbiter announced. The resolution calls for the formal expulsion of species designation Terra-1, commonly known as humans, from the Galactic Alliance, citing repeated violations of the Harmony Protocols. A murmur swept through the assembly. Maya sat perfectly still, her face a diplomatic mask, even as her heart pounded in her chest. This was happening faster than even Commander Orion had anticipated. Ambassador Vexar rose, his towering blue form commanding attention. His voice, when processed through the translation matrix, came through as deep and resonant. Esteemed colleagues, for 50 years we have tolerated the human tendency toward disruption and change. We welcome them, despite their youth as a species, hoping they would learn the value of stability and consensus that has guided our alliance for millennia. Instead, they have consistently pushed boundaries, questioned established wisdom, and introduced chaotic elements into our carefully balanced society. Vexar's secondary arms gesticulated in what Maya recognized as a gesture of extreme disapproval in Kytho culture. Their latest proposal to modify the Arcturus trade corridor, a route that has functioned perfectly for 300 years, is merely the most recent example of their inability to accept the perfection we have achieved. They insist on improving what needs no improvement, on innovating where innovation only brings disruption. Maya noted with growing concern how many heads nodded in agreement. The Alliance had always valued stability over progress, equilibrium over evolution. It was a fundamental philosophical difference that had created friction since humanity's admission. Vexar continued. We propose that for the continued harmony of our alliance, humanity be removed from membership and restricted to their home system until such time as they demonstrate the maturity to accept the natural order of civilization. The Arbiter acknowledged Vexar's statement with a formal bow. As is tradition, the named party may respond before the vote. Ambassador Truong of Earth, you have the floor. Maya rose, her movements deliberate and unhurried. She had prepared for this possibility, though she had hoped it would never come to pass. Esteemed Arbiter, honored representatives of the Galactic Alliance, she began, her voice clear and steady. For 50 years, humanity has strived to be a worthy member of this august assembly. We have shared our discoveries, participated in your traditions, and attempted to adapt to your ways. She paused, looking around the chamber, meeting the various sensory organs that different species used for visual perception. Yet we cannot deny our nature. Humans are explorers, inventors, questioners. We seek not to disrupt, but to grow. Not to challenge, but to understand. Our proposal for the Arcturus corridor would reduce travel time by 17%, while using 22% less energy. Is efficiency not also a form of harmony? A few representatives shifted uncomfortably, but most remained impassive. Maya continued, knowing she was fighting a losing battle but determined to preserve Earth's dignity. If the Council feels that human membership is incompatible with the Alliance's values, we will accept your decision with respect. However, I request a formal review of our contributions over the past 50 years before such a momentous vote is taken. Ambassador Vexar's secondary limbs twitched in irritation. The time for reviews has passed. The preliminary vote has already demonstrated the will of the Council. This session is merely to formalize what we all know is necessary. Maya's eyes narrowed slightly. A preliminary vote without the presence of the affected party? Is that the harmony and fairness the Alliance claims to embody? The Arbiter raised a hand for silence. The procedures were followed according to Section 12, Paragraph 7 of the Alliance Charter, which allows for preliminary consensus building in cases where a member's actions may be deemed disruptive. Maya bit back a retort about the convenient interpretation of the Charter. Instead, she nodded respectfully. Then, I request that the vote proceed without further delay, and that Earth's delegation be allowed to remain present for the entire process. Granted, the Arbiter declared. The vote will commence immediately. Throughout the vast chamber, representatives activated their voting interfaces. Maya watched as the results began to appear on the massive holographic display above the central dais. The numbers climbed rapidly in favor of expulsion. Each additional vote another nail in humanity's diplomatic coffin. When the final tally appeared, even Maya was surprised by the overwhelming consensus. 824 votes for expulsion, 16 against. Only 16 representatives had voted to keep humanity in the Alliance. Maya made a mental note of who they were: the Proxima delegation, the Tau Sadians, and a handful of the younger species who had joined after Earth. Allies to remember in the difficult times ahead. The Arbiter's voice cut through her thoughts. The resolution passes with a clear majority. In accordance with Alliance protocols, Earth's delegation will have 30 standard days to complete all withdrawal procedures, after which all human representatives and installations must be removed from Alliance space. Maya stood again, her posture straight and proud. The delegation of Earth acknowledges the Council's decision. However, before we proceed with withdrawal protocols, I have a final statement to make. The Arbiter hesitated, then nodded. Proceed, Ambassador Truong, but be brief. The matter is decided. Maya activated her neural interface, accessing the secure files that Dr. Lum had prepared. With a subtle gesture, she transferred the data to the Council's main information system. For the past 50 years, she began, her voice taking on a new strength. Humanity has done more than simply participate in Alliance activities. We have been the invisible engineers of your continued prosperity. The holographic display above shifted, now showing thousands of technical schematics, medical procedures, and infrastructure designs. When the Rigelian plague threatened to devastate the Outer Rim colonies, it was a human virologist who developed the cure, though the official records credit the Denebrian Medical Consortium. Murmurs of confusion spread through the chamber. When the Proxima Centauri trade route collapsed due to stellar instability, it was human astrophysicists who designed the subspace corridor that saved your economy, though the Vega Consortium received the commendation. Ambassador Vexar rose in protest. This is absurd. The Arbiter should not allow these baseless claims. Every file I've just released to the Council database contains irrefutable evidence, Maya continued, raising her voice over the growing commotion. Genetic markers in medical procedures, algorithmic signatures in engineering designs, quantum timestamps that cannot be falsified. For 50 years, we have allowed our contributions to be attributed to others, believing that results mattered more than recognition. The chamber erupted in chaos as representatives accessed the data, confirming the authenticity of her claims. The Arbiter banged their ceremonial staff repeatedly, calling for order. Ambassador Truong, the purpose of this disclosure is unclear. the Arbiter finally said, when the noise had somewhat subsided. Even if these claims are true, they do not change the Council's decision. Maya smiled sadly. I am not attempting to reverse the decision, merely to ensure that the historical record is accurate. Humanity accepts our expulsion. In fact, we had already begun our withdrawal procedures before this session began. This revelation caused another wave of surprised exclamations. Our ships are already departing from all Alliance outposts. Within the granted 30 days, not a single human will remain in Alliance space. Maya's voice became solemn. We simply wanted you to understand exactly what you're losing. With that, she deactivated her interface, gave the traditional bow of respect to the Arbiter, and turned to leave. As she walked toward the exit, a small, reptilian figure stepped into her path. Junior Counselor Aaron, one of the 16 who had voted against expulsion. Ambassador Truong, Aaron said quietly, their scaled skin reflecting the light in iridescent patterns. Not all of us agree with this decision. Is there nothing to be done? Maya regarded the young representative with a mix of appreciation and resignation. The time for negotiation has passed, Counselor Aaron. But remember what you've learned today. Perhaps when the next young species reaches for the stars, the Alliance will show more wisdom. With that, she continued past, her back straight and her gaze forward, leaving behind a council chamber in disarray, representatives arguing amongst themselves as they processed the revelations she had unleashed. Back in the secure Earth Embassy on Nexus Prime, Maya found her staff already in the final stages of evacuation. Kai was coordinating the destruction of sensitive materials, while other personnel packed essential cultural artifacts and diplomatic records. Status report, Maya demanded as she entered the main operations center. Dr. Lum looked up from his console, his eyes tired but alert. 70% of our personnel have already boarded transports. The remaining critical staff will be ready to depart within 12 hours. We're well ahead of schedule. And the data release? The scientist's lips curled into a rare smile. Already spreading through every information network in Alliance space. They can't suppress it now. Too many independent systems have copies. Maya nodded with satisfaction. And our other initiatives? All automated systems have been programmed according to your specifications. The transition will begin exactly as planned once we're clear of Alliance space. For the first time since receiving Commander Orion's message, Maya allowed herself a moment to feel the weight of what was happening. 50 years of human efforts in space, relationships built, knowledge gained, all coming to an abrupt end. Do you think they'll realize what they've done before it's too late? Kai asked quietly, pausing in his work. Maya shook her head. The Alliance has spent millennia perfecting stability at the cost of adaptability. They've forgotten how fragile perfect systems can be when a single component changes. And we're about to change a lot of components, Dr. Lum added, his tone somewhere between regret and anticipation. We gave them every opportunity to accept us as partners, Maya replied. They chose to see us as disruptors instead. Now, they'll learn the difference between disruption and dissolution. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on every world where humans had established a presence. On New Terra, the colony that had been humanity's proudest achievement in interstellar space. Evacuation ships filled the skies. Families who had built lives there over generations packed what they could carry, leaving homes and businesses behind. In the research stations orbiting the gas giants of the Kepler system, scientists carefully removed experimental equipment, downloaded irreplaceable data, and in some cases, reluctantly destroyed work that couldn't be transported. 50 years of scientific advancement compressed into desperate hours of preservation. On the trading hub of Centauri Station, human merchants settled accounts, transferred ownership of immovable assets, and said goodbye to alien business partners who had become friends. Some wept openly. Others maintained stoic facades that crumbled only in private. The process was orderly, but tinged with a deep sense of loss that transcended species boundaries. Many non-humans watched in confusion or dismay, not understanding the Council's decision or the sudden urgency of the human departure. What none of them knew, what only a select few in Earth's highest leadership circles understood, was that humanity's presence in Alliance space went far deeper than visible installations and official representatives. For decades, human engineers and scientists had worked behind the scenes, implementing systems and technologies that had become fundamental to Alliance infrastructure. Communication networks, atmospheric regulators, medical diagnostic tools, even the automated navigation systems that guided ships through the complex space lanes of the Alliance, all bore the invisible signature of human innovation, often disguised behind the names of more established species who took credit for the advancements. These systems had been designed with a hidden contingency, the ability to function autonomously for exactly 30 days without human maintenance before subtle degradation would begin. It wasn't sabotage. Nothing would catastrophically fail. Rather, the systems would simply stop adapting to new conditions, stop self-repairing, stop evolving to meet changing needs. In the perfect, changeless world, the Alliance believed they maintained. Such adaptability had seemed unnecessary. But the universe was not static, and systems that couldn't evolve were destined to falter. 24 hours after the Council vote, Maya stood on the observation deck of the Cathedral Station, the massive space dock that served as humanity's primary gateway to Alliance space. Through the panoramic windows, she could see the enormous evacuation vessel Ark-1 being prepared for departure. Similar ships were launching from every human outpost across Alliance territory, carrying the sum total of humanity's off-Earth population back toward the Sol system. "Ambassador Truong," a voice called from behind her. Maya turned to find High Arbiter Zen approaching, their translucent skin pulsing with what appeared to be agitation. The fact that the head of the Council had come in person, rather than sending a subordinate, spoke volumes. "High Arbiter," Maya acknowledged with a formal bow. "This is an unexpected honor." "I have reviewed the data you released to the Council," Zen said without preamble. "If verified, it suggests a significant reassessment may be warranted." Maya smiled thinly. "Every byte has been authenticated with quantum signatures. It cannot be falsified." "Then why keep these contributions secret? If humans had sought proper recognition..." "Would it have made a difference?" Maya interrupted, abandoning diplomatic niceties. "Or would our ideas have been dismissed as too disruptive, too innovative, too human?" The Arbiter's skin flushed with colors that Maya recognized as discomfort. "The Council values stability." "The Council fears change," Maya corrected. "And in doing so, it fails to recognize that the universe itself is change. Nothing remains static. Arbiter Zen. Not stars. Not civilizations. Not even the supposedly perfect systems of the Alliance." A tremor ran through the station, preparations for the final departure sequence. Maya glanced at her chronometer. 6 hours ahead of schedule. Commander Orion was taking no chances. "Ambassador, I propose an emergency session of the Council," the Arbiter said, their tone urgent now. "These revelations warrant reconsideration of yesterday's vote. Certain accommodations might be possible." Maya shook her head. "It's too late. Arbiter, the evacuation is nearly complete. By this time tomorrow, not a single human will remain in Alliance space." "But the transition period, you have 30 days. "We've chosen to accelerate our departure." Maya's voice was firm. "The Alliance made its position clear. We are respecting that decision by removing ourselves promptly." Arbiter Zen's luminescent vessels pulsed rapidly. "There are protocols for withdrawal, systems to be transferred, responsibilities to be reassigned. A managed transition is essential for the stability you prize so highly," Maya finished for them. "Don't worry. Arbiter, Everything will continue functioning for a while. The implication hung in the air between them. Maya watched as comprehension dawned in the Arbiter's multifaceted eyes. "You would leave us vulnerable?" The accusation was barely above a whisper. "We're leaving you exactly as you wish to be, unchanged," Maya replied. "The systems we've built will continue working as designed. They simply won't evolve anymore. In a static universe, that would be sufficient. In the real universe," she shrugged eloquently. Another tremor shook the station, stronger this time. The final boarding call echoed through the corridors. "I must go now, Arbiter. That's my ship." Maya turned to leave, but the Arbiter's voice stopped her. "The consequences of this action are the natural result of the Council's decision." Maya completed the thought. "Sometimes the universe teaches wisdom through loss. Arbiter Zen. Perhaps in a few centuries, when the Alliance considers admitting another young species, you'll remember this moment." With that, she walked away, leaving the High Arbiter standing alone on the observation deck, watching as humanity prepared to abandon the stars they had briefly shared. The departure of the Ark-1 from Cathedral Station became an unexpected spectacle. Word had spread through Nexus Prime about the human evacuation, drawing crowds of various species to the spaceport's public viewing areas. Many came out of curiosity, others to bid farewell to human colleagues or friends, and some simply to witness a historic moment. Commander Orion stood on the bridge of the massive vessel, overseeing final preparations. The ship had been designed for this contingency, capable of transporting up to 50,000 humans, along with essential equipment and cultural treasures. Similar arcs were departing from every major human installation across Alliance space. "Final security sweep complete," his executive officer reported. "All personnel accounted for. We are clear for departure." Orion nodded, his scarred face solemn. "Any word from the diplomatic corps?" "Ambassador Truong is aboard and heading to the bridge now, sir." On the main view screen, Orion could see the gathering crowd beyond the docking bay. Among them, he recognized representatives from several Alliance species, including a few council members. Their presence was unexpected, perhaps a final gesture of respect, or simply curiosity about the species that had chosen to leave rather than fight the expulsion order. The bridge doors slid open, and Maya Truong entered, still wearing her formal diplomatic uniform. "Ambassador," Orion acknowledged with a nod. "We're ready to depart on your order." Maya surveyed the bridge, taking in the disciplined crew at their stations. "So many years of preparation for a contingency we hoped would never come. Humanity plans for all possibilities," Orion replied. "It's what they've never understood about us." Maya took a seat in the designated diplomatic observer chair. "Let's not keep them waiting, Commander. Take us home." Orion turned to his navigation officer. "Release docking clamps. Initiate departure sequence." Throughout the massive ship, a subtle vibration signaled the disengagement of the docking mechanisms. On the view screen, the crowd of observers became more animated as they realized departure was imminent. As the Ark-1 slowly backed away from Cathedral Station, communication channels suddenly lit up with incoming transmissions. "Sir, we're receiving messages from multiple Alliance vessels," the communications officer reported. "They're requesting clarification on maintenance protocols for various systems." Orion looked to Maya, who shook her head slightly. "No response," the commander ordered. "Seal all communication channels except for the human emergency frequency." The Ark-1 cleared the docking area and began accelerating toward the jump point that would take it out of Alliance space. Behind it, other human vessels fell into formation, a fleet of Exodus, carrying the sum total of humanity's interstellar presence back toward Earth. On the main view screen, Cathedral Station grew smaller, its magnificent spires gleaming in the light of the Nexus star. For a moment, Maya felt a pang of regret for what might have been, a true partnership between humanity and the ancient civilizations of the Alliance. But the moment passed quickly. The decision had been made, not by Earth, but by those who feared the change that humans represented. "Jump point in 60 seconds, the navigation officer announced. Maya watched the screen intently, memorizing the site of Nexus Prime, likely the last time any human would see it for generations to come. The ornate space station, the gleaming planetary surface below, the elegant Alliance vessels in orbit, all products of a civilization that had achieved greatness and then chosen stagnation over continued growth. 30 seconds to jump. Commander Orion moved to stand beside Maya's chair. "Second thoughts, Ambassador." Maya shook her head. "No, just contemplating the irony. They expelled us for being agents of change, never realizing how much they had come to depend on that very quality." 10 seconds. "The universe rewards adaptation," Orion remarked. "They'll learn that lesson soon enough." 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Jump initiated. The stars on the view screen streaked and blurred as the Ark-1 entered the jump corridor, leaving Alliance space behind. In the command chair, Maya closed her eyes briefly, silently marking the end of humanity's first venture into the galactic community. When she opened them again, they were traveling through the swirling energies of hyperspace, on the long journey back to Earth. On Nexus Prime, the effects of humanity's departure weren't immediately apparent. The first day passed in relative normalcy, with many Alliance species privately relieved that the disruptive humans were gone. The Council held emergency sessions to discuss transition plans, reassigning responsibilities and access rights to various systems that had been under human management. By the third day, minor issues began to appear. The atmospheric regulation system for the Council chamber required recalibration, a routine maintenance task usually handled by human technicians. Alien engineers examined the system, surprised by its complexity despite its apparent simplicity. On the fifth day, the first significant problem occurred. The primary communication relay for the Outer Rim colonies experienced a 17-minute outage. When service was restored, message clarity was reduced by 12%, an imperceptible difference to most, but a harbinger of things to come. By the end of the first week, the Council had established a special committee to address what they termed transitional inefficiencies. Reports from across Alliance space detailed similar minor malfunctions and degradations. Nothing catastrophic, but a steady erosion of the perfect functioning they had taken for granted. High Arbiter Zen convened a closed session with the senior representatives of the founding species. The mood was tense as they reviewed the growing list of systems showing signs of strain. "The situation is concerning but manageable," Ambassador Vexar insisted, his blue skin now perpetually flushed with stress. "Our engineers are learning the human systems quickly. We'll have everything stabilized within days." "The database Ambassador Truong released indicates otherwise," countered Counselor Arin, who had been invited due to their expertise in information systems. "These aren't simple mechanisms with straightforward maintenance requirements. They're adaptive systems designed to evolve in response to changing conditions." "Which is precisely the problem," Vexar snapped. "Unnecessary complexity where simplicity would suffice. Classic human over-engineering. Or perhaps," Aaron suggested carefully, "an understanding of natural processes that we have chosen to ignore. The universe is not static. Ambassador Vexar, perhaps our systems shouldn't be either." The debate continued without resolution, while across Alliance space, the invisible infrastructure that humans had built continued its gradual, inevitable decay. By the 15th day, halfway through the 30-day transition period specified in the expulsion order, the problems could no longer be dismissed as minor. On 3 major Alliance worlds, weather control systems began producing unpredictable patterns, resulting in crop damage and transportation disruptions. The main medical database experienced corruption in its diagnostic algorithms, leading to treatment errors in 17 documented cases. The Central Alliance banking system reported transaction delays averaging 73 seconds, an eternity in automated financial operations. Trade suffered immediately, with markets responding to the uncertainty with sharp downturns. In the council chamber, now operating with backup environmental systems after the primary controls failed completely, emergency sessions ran continuously. Representatives who had voted confidently for human expulsion now questioned their decision, while those who had opposed it pointed out that the 30-day window for reconsideration was half closed. "We must contact Earth," insisted an Arcturian delegate, their crystalline form vibrating with urgency. "Offer new terms, request technical assistance, and admit our error," Vexar interrupted. "Concede that we cannot maintain our own civilization without their help. The political implications would be devastating." "More devastating than the collapse of essential infrastructure?" Councillor Aaron challenged. "Already the outer colonies are reporting critical failures in life support systems. The Deneb medical station has lost 30% of its diagnostic capacity. The Rigelian agricultural worlds face crop failures if their irrigation systems continue to degrade." High Arbiter Zen raised their hands for silence. "We have attempted communication. Earth does not respond. Our messages go unanswered." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. The implication was clear. Humanity had turned its back on the alliance that had rejected them. "Then we must solve this ourselves," Vexar declared, though with less conviction than before. "Our civilizations thrived for millennia before humans arrived. We will adapt." "Will we?" Aaron asked quietly. "Adaptation has not been our strength. Ambassador Vexar, that was their strength, the very quality we cited as disruptive." As the debate continued, on worlds throughout Alliance space, the carefully constructed systems that had quietly become essential to daily life continued their subtle but inexorable decline. On the 25th day, catastrophe struck. The primary navigation system for the central space lanes, the complex network of safe travel corridors that connected the major worlds of the Alliance, experienced a cascading failure. 17 vessels were lost with all hands when they emerged from jumps at incorrect coordinates. Hundreds more were stranded in transit, unable to calculate safe passage to their destinations. Interstellar commerce ground to a halt. Panic spread through the Alliance as food shipments failed to arrive at dependent worlds, and medical supplies couldn't reach outbreak zones. The carefully balanced ecosystem of interstellar civilization began to unravel with frightening speed. On Nexus Prime, the Council abandoned its formal procedures in favor of emergency crisis management. Species that had maintained careful diplomatic distances for centuries now worked side by side, desperately trying to understand and repair the systems that humans had built and maintained. "It's no use," admitted the chief engineer of the Vega Consortium after 48 hours of continuous work on the navigation system. "The algorithms are self-modifying. They were designed to learn and evolve with use. Without that continuous adaptation, they're degrading faster than we can repair them." "Can we not simply replace them with our own systems?" demanded Vexar. The engineer's expression was grim. "Our systems were integrated with theirs decades ago. We've been using human-designed infrastructure for so long that our own technologies have atrophied. We don't have replacements ready." On the 30th day, the official end of the transition period specified in the expulsion order, High Arbiter Zen stood before a subdued council. The chamber was operating on emergency power, the environmental controls limited to basic life support. Around the room, representatives from across the galaxy listened in silence to the formal acknowledgement of their collective failure. Today marks the end of the transition period following the expulsion of humanity from the Galactic Alliance. Zen began, their voice solemn. It also marks the beginning of what historians may well record as the end of our era of prosperity. No one interrupted or objected. The evidence was all around them, in the failing systems, the stranded ships, the suffering colonies. "The Special Committee has completed its assessment," Zen continued. The conclusion is unavoidable. Without human assistance, we cannot maintain the integrated systems that have become essential to our civilization. Conservative estimates suggest complete collapse of interstellar infrastructure within 90 days. A murmur of dismay swept through the chamber. Therefore, I am invoking Emergency Protocol 7. A delegation will depart immediately for Earth space to request assistance and propose new terms for human reintegration into the Alliance. Ambassador Vexar rose, his once imposing figure now diminished by the stress of recent weeks. And if they refuse, if they demand concessions we cannot grant. High Arbiter Zen's luminescent vessels pulsed with resignation. Then we will grant what we must. Ambassador Vexar, the alternative is collapse. The emergency delegation departed that same day, aboard the fastest vessel, still operational in the Alliance fleet. The ship carried senior representatives from 7 species, including Counselor Aaron and, in a gesture of political necessity, Ambassador Vexar himself. Their journey was fraught with difficulties as they navigated the increasingly unreliable jump corridors. What should have been a 3-day trip stretched to 8, as they were forced to make constant course corrections and deal with system malfunctions aboard their own vessel. When they finally arrived at the edge of Sol system, they were met by a perimeter of Earth defense platforms, automated sentinels that scanned their ship thoroughly before allowing them to proceed. The delegation was escorted to Luna Base, the massive installation on Earth's moon that had become humanity's primary outpost since the withdrawal from Alliance space. They were received not in a formal diplomatic setting, but in a utilitarian conference room that reflected humanity's new, more practical approach to interstellar relations. Ambassador Maya Truong entered the room alone, her formal diplomatic uniform replaced by the practical attire of Earth's military scientific command. She showed no surprise at seeing the delegation, nor any particular satisfaction at their obvious desperation. High Arbiter, ambassadors, she acknowledged with a simple nod. Earth expected your arrival approximately 3 days ago. The navigation issues must be worse than our models predicted. Vexar bristled at her calm demeanor. You knew this would happen. You planned it. Maya's expression remained neutral. We planned for it as a contingency. Yes. We did not desire it as an outcome. There is a difference. Ambassador Vexar. You've brought the Alliance to the brink of collapse, Vexar accused. No, Maya corrected firmly. The Alliance brought itself to this point by rejecting adaptation in favor of stagnation. Humans simply removed the support that was masking the underlying weakness. High Arbiter Zen intervened before Vexar could escalate the confrontation. Ambassador Truong, we come seeking assistance. The situation throughout Alliance space is deteriorating rapidly. Critical systems are failing. Lives are being lost. And you expect us to help? Maya asked, her tone not unkind but direct. After being declared too disruptive to participate in your civilization? We were wrong, Counselor Aaron said simply. The vote was a mistake. We see that now. Maya studied the young representative thoughtfully. Some of you saw it earlier than others, Counselor. But acknowledgement of error is only the beginning of wisdom, not its completion. What do you want? Vexar demanded, abandoning diplomatic pretense. What price does Earth demand for its assistance? Maya smiled slightly. That's still the fundamental misunderstanding. Ambassador, this isn't a negotiation where you can simply offer concessions to appease us. This is a moment of truth about the nature of civilization itself. She rose and activated a holographic display showing the status of various Alliance systems. The amount of detail it contained, updated in real time, made it clear that Earth had maintained its observation capabilities despite the withdrawal. Your civilization is failing because it rejected change as disruptive rather than recognizing it as essential. Maya explained. Humans didn't sabotage your systems. We simply removed the element of continuous adaptation that had become integral to their functioning. Then help us restore that adaptation, Arbiter Zen pleaded. Whatever terms you require. The terms aren't mine to set, Maya interrupted. They're determined by reality itself. A civilization that cannot adapt will eventually collapse. That's not a human judgment. It's a universal principle. She gestured to the holographic display, where red indicators showed critical failures spreading throughout Alliance space. If Earth provides technical assistance now, the immediate crisis will be averted. But without a fundamental change in the Alliance's approach to innovation and adaptation, you'll face the same situation again, perhaps decades from now instead of days. But the outcome will be identical. The delegation members exchanged uncomfortable glances. What Ambassador Truong was suggesting went beyond technical assistance or political concessions. She was proposing a fundamental shift in the philosophical foundation of Alliance civilization. What precisely are you suggesting? Arbiter Zen asked carefully. A new compact, Maya replied. Not just readmission of humanity to the Alliance, but a transformation of the Alliance itself. A civilization that embraces change as essential rather than tolerating it as disruptive. A culture that values innovation alongside stability, that recognizes adaptation as the key to true sustainability. Vexar shook his head in disbelief. You would remake our entire society in your image. No, Ambassador, Maya corrected. I would have you recognize that the image of a thriving civilization must include both preservation and transformation. It's not about becoming human. It's about acknowledging the universal truth that humans happen to embody. She paused, looking at each delegation member in turn. You have a choice. Accept this principle and allow your civilization to evolve, or reject it and watch as the systems you depend on continue their inevitable decay. Earth will provide emergency assistance regardless. We have no desire to see innocent lives lost, but lasting solutions require more than technical fixes. The delegation retreated to consider her words. For hours they debated among themselves, weighing ancient traditions against immediate necessities, cultural identity against survival itself. When they returned, it was Counselor Aaron who spoke first. The delegation accepts your assessment. Ambassador Truong, we will recommend to the full council that the Alliance embrace a new approach to change and innovation, with humanity as partners rather than disruptors. Vexar remained silent, his expression unreadable, but he did not object. High Arbiter Zen stepped forward. I will personally sponsor the resolution. The events of the past 30 days have demonstrated beyond question that our path of perfect stability leads ultimately to collapse. Maya nodded, satisfied. Then Earth will provide immediate technical assistance for critical systems. A more comprehensive reintegration will follow as the new compact takes shape. As the delegation prepared to return with the news, and with a team of human engineers to address the most urgent crises, Maya took a moment to speak privately with Counselor Aaron. This transition won't be easy, she warned the young representative. Many in the Alliance will resist change, even in the face of evidence that it's necessary. Aaron's scaled skin rippled in what Maya had learned was a gesture of determination. Change never is easy, Ambassador, but necessity is a powerful teacher. The Alliance will adapt because it must. Then, perhaps something valuable has emerged from this crisis, after all. Maya reflected. A new understanding that may serve both our peoples for generations to come. As the Alliance delegation departed with their human technical team, Maya made her way to the observation deck of Luna Base. Through the massive viewport, she could see Earth shining like a blue jewel against the blackness of space. Beyond it, invisible to the naked eye, but present in her mind's eye, lay the vast expanse of the galaxy, a realm that humanity had briefly touched before being forced to withdraw. Commander Orion joined her at the viewport, his weathered face reflective. Do you think it will work? He asked quietly. This new compact? Maya considered the question carefully. In the short term, yes, necessity will drive cooperation. The real test will come later, when the immediate crisis has passed. Will they remember the lesson, or slip back into comfortable stagnation? And if they do, then we'll be ready. Maya replied simply. Humanity has always walked its own path among the stars. If the Alliance truly cannot adapt, we'll find our own way forward. She turned from the viewport to face the commander directly. But I believe they can change. The capacity exists in all intelligent life. The drive to grow, to improve, to become more than what came before. It's not unique to humans. We just embrace it more openly than most. Orion nodded thoughtfully. A second chance, then. For all of us, Maya agreed. And perhaps next time, when we reach for the stars together, we'll do so with a better understanding of what truly makes a civilization endure. Beyond the viewport, Earth continued its eternal orbit around the Sun, while throughout Alliance space, the first human technical teams began the work of restoration, not just of failing systems, but of a civilization that had forgotten the essential value of change itself. From the command deck of her vessel, now returning to Earth after completing its diplomatic mission, Maya looked back toward the coordinates where Nexus Prime would be, though it was far beyond visual range. The journey home would be long, giving her time to reflect on what had transpired and what might yet come. Too late to fix it, she murmured to herself, recalling her thoughts during those tense days of withdrawal. But perhaps she had been wrong. Perhaps it was never too late for wisdom to emerge from crisis, for growth to rise from the ashes of complacency. The stars streamed past as the ship accelerated, carrying her back to a humanity that had learned its own painful lessons about adaptation and survival. Whatever came next, reunion or separate paths, the fundamental truth remained. The universe rewarded those who embraced change, not those who feared it. And in that knowledge, there was both challenge and hope for all species reaching for the stars.